Labs. It's like a.
Well, there you go.
Sorry. Hey,
Back to United We Stand, Divided We Podcast. And right now, it looks like Robert's united over there with a special guest. Well, you might as well meet him right now, and then I'll quickly talk about what I want to talk about.
yes,
So
yeah, and
introduce
sorry,
him.
we were kind of a little chatting there when the intro stops. So sorry about that. Hey, Robert from the U.S. with my special guest, my son Blake. Say what's up.
What's going on, guys?
And of course, we have Mr. Lionel from Canada.
To be specific, Toronto, Canada.
Ooh,
Now, of course, I wasn't born here, but I've lived here. I love Toronto. I love the.
Have you been to
eastern part of the
Toronto?
country.
not many friends have been to Toronto.
Oh well, Toronto. I love it, but at the same time, honestly, if I had $1 million, I wouldn't be living in any city. I'd be somewhere,
Fair.
on a lake.
Yeah.
But
Not an island.
that said, what's that?
Not an island.
Oh, well, I'd have to be really rich for that.
True.
But
Million might not be enough.
yeah. All right. Before we get going any further, I just got two things actually I got to bring up. Excuse me while I have to look way over here on my laptop. Actually, I should share this screen, to be honest with you, so you can see it while I'm looking at it, and that's if I can find my mouse. I'm using two screens, that's why. Okay, so just give me 1 second while I bring this up. Screen. I wish I could have had this price. Did I freeze everything or just my computer?
I don't see anything frozen.
Okay, well that's good because I do. Well, it's fine now actually. All right. I'm gonna go window because I can't use a Chrome tab on this. There we go, and I'm going to share that. I think it's not sharing. Does it not work?
It popped up.
You got.
Oh, it did. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it, which it reduces the point of my having shared it for starters. Oh, okay. So for some reason it's really, really slow. All right, I'm gonna have to read it from the other one, which means I might have to put my glasses on. All right, I've never actually heard of this before, which is really embarrassing, as you can see, being a mulatto man. But Juneteenth honors a significant moment in history. Many people think of Emancipation Day, the end of American slavery, as January 1st, 1863, the day President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring all persons held as slaves shall be is that thenceforth or henceforth? I don't know if that's a typo or not, but we'll go with it, and forever free. But it wasn't until the 19th of June, or June 19th, Juneteenth, 1865, 2.5 years later, that news of the proclamation finally reached the 250,000 slaves living in Texas. That is actually mind-boggling to me. I had no idea. Let me end that now. I had no idea that was true, or that was a thing. I thought, 6 months, 8 months, a year, maybe a year and a half as far as corners of the United States of America. I didn't know 2.5 years. So in all reality, I could see why this should be a little bit more out there with people knowing about June 19th. So I wanted to bring that up. And before I move on to the other thing, Blake, you served, right? Or still do? I'm not sure.
I served for 5 years. I've been out for about 4.
Out about 4. Okay. First of all, keeping in mind this is coming from a Canadian, but as all of us know, I'm not even sure how long it's been, over 100 years for sure, well over 100 years, United States and Canada have been friends, have been there with each other, at battlefields and whatnot. So as a Canadian, I want to say thank you very much for your service.
I appreciate that. I actually served with a few Canadian
Oh yeah.
military folks in Italy.
Yeah, it's I dated a German girl once who was in Canada because she actually had met someone in the Canadian service, which was probably not that far away from where the American base. I'm not sure if you've ever been to Germany. I'm not sure where the American bases are versus Canadian bases.
They're
Yeah,
everywhere.
well, that I know. Yeah, but
There's
they were in southern Germany, so I don't know what I think they probably weren't that far apart. There's probably more than one time where they've all partied together. So,
yeah.
but all right. Anyways, all right. I had to get that out of the way. And again, my mouse is getting in my way because I'm going back and forth between the screens. So, really, well, no, actually, I can bring that up later. So, Robert, what's on your mind right now, and what do we want to talk about with Blake?
Well, I didn't have anything real specific. One thing that I thought would be kind of cool is because obviously, as you can see, he's a young man.
He's younger than me.
Well, he's ventured out and doing things that I could have only dreamt about at his age, and I
Right.
think it would be a kind of good to maybe if there's any young listeners, even though we're old, to understand the importance of living your youth and doing things that you can do now instead of waiting to do them later. Because as a 50 something now,
Right.
it was back in 2019, I was like, oh, I'm going to try to get out there and see. He's like, Dad, sometimes you just have to do it. Just do it. So then I literally said, okay. And I just got the credit card and I bought some tickets to Italy and I went on my first, international vacation. And now we've been traveling international at least once or twice a year now, which has been awesome. So I think it's important that some of these younger generation people understand that, like, if you can do it now, don't wait.
You know what? I think people do do that. Yeah. Let's hear what your thought on that. Well, obviously, I think you think so.
Yeah, this is obviously, like, to me, travel is one of the most important things in my life, and probably will forever be one of the most important things in my life. And I tell this to people all the time, and I actually have many friends that are in their 60s that I talk to on a regular basis. And one thing I realized when I was younger, fortunately that I realized when I was younger, was, you don't get time back. You can get almost anything else back in life. You don't get time. And one of the things that I enjoy spending my time doing is traveling. And like you said, I've done a good bit of travel. And one thing that's what I think is most incredible about the world is the amount of different cultures and perspectives and people in the world that, as different as we all are, we're so similar. I mean, going from Tunisia in Africa to Thailand to Brazil, or living in Costa Rica, like wherever, we all have so much similarities that we can find, but also these incredible differences that are created over hundreds, if not thousands of years of cultures that have been, like, grown in these areas of the world, like Latin America or Asia and Europe, that they have these incredible traditions that, you never really learn about until you go there. You don't eat the food, you don't meet the people, you don't know the language. You got to travel there. You got to go there. You can look on it on the internet. That's the second best thing, right? Watching videos, but actually getting to go somewhere and travel and meet the people, the locals, understand their culture, like that is, every time I come back from a trip, every single time I come back to the US from a trip, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I not doing this full time? every single time, I'm like, how can I get to the point where I can do this just full time?
Well, there are travel bloggers. Yeah, there are. Listen, I was just saying there are travel vloggers, and some of them are very successful. And if you have experience in their travels already, which you do, then you've already got a leg up on things you want to see. Like, you are already aware of whether you like to go to Italy, Germany, Thailand, or wherever, right? I can tell you the few places that I have on my bucket list that I absolutely, if I have to have somebody drag my ashes to, well, that's not going to help me much, obviously, but I'd love to go to Fiji, for instance. Right. So I'd like to make that happen one day. I don't really care about Mexico, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. Like, I don't like Mexico. I just mean it's too tourist trappy for me at this point. That's why I don't. It doesn't matter to me. There are parts of Brazil I'd like to see, but they're not named Rio, right? If I go to Hawaii, I want to see the Big Island. I don't care about going to Oahu. But I think it's a lot of what you were saying is if I get to travel, I would like to actually get to know the people, the culture, eat the food traditionally, not with a big giant fake hat on my head saying, here I am a tourist. I want to
Yeah.
experience what you're saying, what you saw, right? What you got to see. And you know, I guess you guys are going to get to do that again. And I'm not at all jealous about racing cars in Germany. No.
Yeah, and one of the best ways, and like exactly to your point, one of the best ways to experience any country, any culture is renting a car and driving. You just drive through wherever. That's when you're
Yes,
gonna
thank you. No tour buses.
no tour
Get
buses.
yourself
But
in a car, get out, walk around.
yeah, and nothing against the tour buses, right? Like, because a lot of people have anxiety
Yeah.
about travel. Like most of a lot of Americans, they have anxiety about going overseas, about going to a country where they
Oh,
don't speak the
Canadians
language.
too.
Canadians too, yeah, very very
Yeah,
similar. And
absolutely.
so that's like the second best, right? If you don't want to do that, then get a tour bus and
Yeah.
you'll get some experience. But the best experience,
Yeah.
renting a car and just getting lost,
Yeah,
being
you know
forced to
what?
talk to people. Yeah,
I had somebody tell me once that if you could afford it and you wanted to do a lot of traveling in one shot, like you can take a couple of months, travel around Europe, travel around Asia or whatever, they would say, pick the country you're most comfortable with and that would be the easiest for you to be the safest in the first place as like a home base for the time you're gone. So if you ever have to get back before you can go back home, do that. Like in England, for a lot of people, or England, in America and Canada, for a lot of people, it would be England. Like they'd go to London or something, and they would travel from London to Paris, to Berlin, not Kiev. Jesus, not there, not right
Well, you
now.
could, but I don't know what you want to do right now.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't want to right now, but that was just gonna pop into my head. But some European place anywhere, right? And then if they felt, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't think I can get by with the language barrier. Of course, they don't understand that almost anywhere you go in the world, if it's touristy, English is going to come up in a lot of places.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
100%.
but how many
Yeah.
places have you been to with and without the military?
Well, so I was only stationed in Italy.
Oh, okay.
I went. So I did for work trips. I went to Greece and Germany a couple times, but
Oh, nice.
I've been everywhere I've traveled has been on my personal
Oh,
time.
even better. Wow, even better. Even
Yeah.
better.
So,
So
but
yeah.
countries maybe are like low 30s. Cities maybe double. I'm not quite sure.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. You
When
know
you've been
what?
so many places you lose count, that's a lot.
You need to sit down because I got you beat. Let me tell you all the countries I've been to. Are you ready? Are you ready? I've already got the number in front of you.
Right? Yeah.
No, I've been to the United States. I've been to Canada because I'm here. I literally I've driven to Chicago. And only because I was trying to go from Winnipeg to I think it was Minneapolis, because I wanted to see, Minneapolis and St. Paul. And we basically got to the freeway going through the city, and I was looking at the map. I'm old. It was a paper map. And I was saying, Milwaukee's not that much further. Let's just go to Milwaukee. And we get to Milwaukee, and I said, Chicago's like right down the road. Let's go to Chicago. We get to Chicago. My buddy looks at the map and says, Detroit's. I said, no. And we got far enough.
How's it go, man?
But yeah,
So,
yeah.
the crazy thing is when I was planning the trip to Germany, we are flying into London because that was the cheapest, quickest route.
Yeah.
So we're doing, we hit London, France, Berlin, Netherlands, Germany, Luxembourg. Yeah, like 5 or 6
Damn.
countries in 9 days. I mean, how crazy is that?
It does sound crazy, but like that's right up my alley. As someone who loves photography, I would actually be in heaven. There's so many things to see. I mean, every single thing that Luxembourgians would be like, so what? I see that every day, and I'd be like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love that. But
And
more
that's how it is.
importantly,
I'm sorry.
if
Go ahead.
either one of you decides you want to give up your seat on the plane heading to Germany to race that car, I will, if you want that badly, take your spot.
If you want that.
It's a hard one.
Play the PlayStation
You
or
have
go to
to find-
Germany? Let's see. I'll take go to Germany.
Just
I break
just
both
remember
my
what I
legs
told.
and my
Just
limbs,
remember what I told. Just remember what I told you though, Robert. Don't forget to order the Spätzle und Schnitzel. Don't say and, say und. That's Spätzle und Schnitzel. You won't regret it.
Okay, let me just say this. I won't remember that in 3 months either. So, okay. I'll be like, I don't know. Maybe I should text him.
All
What
right.
the hell did you say that was?
Just
Yeah,
just make sure you got Duolingo on your phone, or basically no. You know what? Ask Gemini, or even better. What is that? The Chat GPT 4.0, not 0. The conversation one. If you
Yeah.
start speaking to it in another language, it will speak to you in that language, and then you could tell it in English to just respond in the other language. And when you don't understand, just say, "I don't understand. Tell me what that means in English and how to pronounce it in whatever language, German, whatever." Right?
Yeah,
I tried that out yesterday. It works beautifully.
And to be fair, as helpful as that is, with how global the economy is and how global English is, like English is the dominant travel, it's dominant business language, everything. It's it's going to be really hard to find somewhere where no one speaks English. It really is. It's not easy to do.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and it definitely would take a lot of people's anxiety out. I personally, if I could travel a lot of places, I wouldn't even mind if I couldn't understand them for a while.
Oh yeah,
and
that's amazing because you have an excuse to do anything pretty much. That's your excuses. I don't understand.
Yeah, I can say whatever I want and say I no speaker.
But anyways, so to wrap that up, so I was just, it seems like a minor thing. It's like, oh, it doesn't sound like that big of a deal. But when I look back as a young man, I could have done some of this travel, and I just didn't think about it.
Yeah,
I didn't do it. So I just think it's important that people realize that if you have an opportunity to do it now. Don't say, oh, well, I'll do that, blah, 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 or I'll do that then, or because it then never comes. Or all of a sudden, job, family, kids, house payment, all these things then start weighing you down, and you suddenly are at a point where it's more difficult. Not that it's impossible,
right.
But it becomes a lot more difficult.
And
so
there's almost never a good time to do anything. It's never a good time to buy a house. It's never a good time to go travel. Money will always come back. Money will always come back. Your time won't.
Yeah, no, that's true. You can't get your time back. So I mean, if you have to do, if you get the opportunity, I totally agree. Go for it, have some fun, enjoy yourself. You learn a lot, and you never know. For some people, it could include finding new business opportunities. You might discover a new passion that becomes something that makes you lots of money, or you might be able to find a vocation that allows you that travel and allows you that freedom. So either way, I agree. Go for it if you have the chance. And also, do you guys have a time machine I could borrow?
Maybe in a few years.
No, I'm still
maybe in a few years.
Is that was that Ted and somebody?
Ted.
Bill and Ted's Big Adventure. Don't they do a time machine?
Bill, but God, man, no. Well, yes.
Who is it? It's somebody like that.
Yeah. Oh my God. I hope Anthony watches this because we're gonna rib you next time we're playing on the PS5. Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure. That's what you're talking about.
Which was followed by Ted.
No, you said Bob or something.
I said Bob at first. I said no, it's Bill and Ted.
Well, I didn't hear that. I don't know.
Yeah, he hasn't seen that movie, but yeah, they make it.
I can understand if you haven't seen it. It's an older movie. Not everybody's actually seen the movie. Most people have, but not everybody's seen it. But What was the reference to that? You'd always just because you're talking about a time machine.
Yeah, a time machine. I said, they have one, so maybe you could build your own like they did.
Well, that's only because George Carlin brought it to them. It was George
right.
Carlin.
I remember. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe a hot tub time machine would be more appropriate.
That's kind of what I just wanted to touch on. I thought that was kind of an interesting point. One of the things I have to say, this is one trip of his that I'm like super jealous of, honestly, is I'll never forget when I saw pictures that he took from the restaurant at the top of that building from Hangover. You remember that restaurant at the top of that big, tall building?
From what?
Hangover 2.
Hangover 2.
Oh, I never saw either one of them.
Oh my gosh.
When
I'm gonna razz
movies,
you about
listen,
a movie now.
Listen, movies I haven't seen are idiotic, stupid movies. You haven't seen classic
movies.
You saw Bill and Ted. This is no more idiotic than Bill and Ted, okay?
Fair enough. All right.
Anyways, all right. he went to that restaurant that was in the movie, and the pictures were epic. I mean, it's just like the restaurant is outdoors. It's like how many stories? It's like 150 stories up or something like that, or
no, not quite that. I think it's like 70.
Oh, 70. Okay, whatever. It's like the pictures are amazing. Yeah, at night, and they were out there drinking and partying, and yeah.
So that's in Bangkok, in Thailand. It's called at State Tower.
Yeah,
and it's. So in the movie Hangover 2, that's when they're having like the brunch outside, and then like there's they get into a fight or something with the little Chinese dude that they're doing like a deal with. I can't remember, but yeah, we went there, and funny story. We're on top, and there's a bar. It's called a Sky Bar, so it's at the very edge of the building, and it kind of has like a little walkout, and there's a bar in the middle. And me and my friends are hanging out, and one of my friends disappears, and we didn't know where he went. A few minutes later, we're walking around, and we see him standing at a table, and we're what's he doing at this table? So we walk over. He's got this hot towel. He's got a little thing of peanuts, and he has a singular shot, just one shot. And he's like, I think I just spent $65 on the shot. And we're
no.
What? $65 on a shot, dude? And yeah, it turned out they had a shot on the menu, and he didn't do the currency exchange, and so he spent $65, and they gave him a hot towel and his own table.
Oh my!
All for a shot, for a single shot.
How long was he at the table the whole night?
Wait a minute.
Yeah. I mean, we ended up
a hot towel.
Yeah. I don't know. It was maybe midnight, but all the other drinks on the menu, I think the cheapest was maybe $17. So I mean, it was expensive, but.
Yeah,
for Thailand, that's insane. I mean, for $16 for a
because I bet there's some place you can go in Thailand for a lot cheaper things.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Somebody got the joke.
We would.
You also got to be careful what you're looking for too, in case it's not what you're looking for. But
a lot of lady
it depends. That depends on where you. Well, yeah. Oh, by the way, if anybody's watching and gets offended by what he said, that is literally what they call themselves there. It is not a derogatory term in Thailand. It's literally that term. So nobody's being misgendered there. So
yeah. Lots of stories from Thailand.
Yeah.
Very, very cool country.
Yeah, they he had some pictures too where they took elephants through the jungle drinking beer on the back of an elephant. It's just what? That's like a redneck in the jungle.
Yeah, they give you beer everywhere you go. I mean, they see, and during that time we went was their New Year, and so during their New Year they do what's called a water festival throughout the whole country, and in Bangkok specifically, the water festival includes people tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people in the streets with water guns everywhere, shooting each other. The whole city, all the time.
So this is like tomatina, but with water guns instead of tomatoes.
Yeah, and so we'd be in a taxi, in a car. We'd have the window down. Someone would come up with a water gun and just douse the inside of the car, and then run away. It's crazy. It's like a free for all, the whole city. So you're getting.
It's got to be to the point where you don't even get mad because it's just such a cool thing to be part of. It's like you'd be thinking, "Oh my God, you got my waterproof watch wet, and my waterproof phone wet, and my waterproof wallet wet." Thanks.
Yeah, you leave the moment you know you're gonna get soaked all day long. It's just
Yeah. Man, okay, so yeah, you've done some cool, fun things. Did I tell you guys about the time I saw a squirrel? Um,
You
I
know what
got
species?
nothing. Well, it was a squirrel, not a chipmunk. Hey, I've seen a red squirrel, I've seen a gray squirrel, I've seen a black squirrel, but no, seriously, there are places in Canada I haven't seen. Well, obviously, it's a huge country, but some of the best places to go in Canada I haven't been to yet.
Fun fact:
Yeah.
Canada has the longest coastline in the world.
Yeah. Glad you said that. It's true. You'd be surprised how many people don't know that. But then again, it's pretty obvious, though, because
Another fun
oceans
fact:
on 3 sides. So
Canada has more trees than stars in our galaxy.
I doubt that.
Yep. There's 400 billion trees in Canada, and there's between 2 to 300 billion stars in our galaxy.
You know what? Those numbers are probably gone because Dutch elm disease alone has killed, several 100 million of them in the last
Yeah.
5-10 years. So,
I mean,
but that is interesting. I've never heard that one. So, that is kind of cool. I have a feeling that the United States has more trees. You just don't really notice it. You got to realize a lot of Canada doesn't have many trees. Those are concentrated in like 4 different areas. It just looks like it's spread out everywhere. When you go above a certain part, you get to the tundra, there is no trees. And a little past that, no vegetation at all. None. It's like living in Nevada.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I have a question. I probably, well, actually, I don't know the answer to this, but do you use, Blake, do you use Android or iOS?
Android.
All right, then we can continue to talk. I'm just kidding.
Well, that's funny because I can't count how many times I've gotten crap from people, mostly women, for having an Android all the time. All the time.
Well, it's ridiculous. Like, you see some of the commercials I've got out recently, and I've seen some of the ads. Oh, like, you know what? Here, let me just real quick. With iOS 18, iPhone's dialer will finally get the most basic smartphone feature. What they're talking about is the fact that in iOS 18, you will be able to actually open your dialer and type numbers one at a time, and the suggestions for your contacts will begin to appear as they appear as numbers. It's T9 dialing that we've had in every single Android phone since day one, because every single dumb phone prior to that had T9 dialing since 1989, I want to say.
I didn't know they didn't do that. Honestly, of course, I don't use it, but
I didn't know either.
Ridiculous.
I'm shocked. I literally can't believe it. Like, I was shocked by that. And there's a few other things, and they're talking about, oh, we've got this now, and we could do this, and everyone else is going to have to catch up. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going, I was doing that in ice cream sandwich. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but the one thing that I'll give Apple props for is they have the most incredible marketing. I mean, the fact that they can
absolutely
phone and become the most profitable company in history.
Yeah.
Off of
well, they started off
products.
at the right time too. Right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, perfect competition, but I mean, the fact that they can offer a product like that really is it's sold through marketing. It's not sold through their functionality. It's sold through marketing, right? That's their.
Oh no! Well, in all fairness, some of their functionality is phenomenal. That whole walled garden thing is what's always turned me off. The fact that you can't change this and you can't change that. iOS 18 is changing a lot of that. You change your wallpapers. You can move your icons around. You can put a bunch of icons in folders and stick them all at the bottom, and have nothing on your home page. They even have, I don't even know what they call it, but it's equivalent to an app drawer now, where you can open that up and see where all your apps are and keep the rest of the phone clean. And again, they're looking at it like that's some miraculous new, and they've spent years, over a decade, saying, well, your guys' phones look cluttered. Well, first of all, you only put the icons on the home screen if I want to. The point is, I can if I want to, right? I don't have to if I don't want to. Now they finally have that choice. 16, 17, 18 years later, they finally have the choice. And they're all like, well, you guys.
The big Apple show they have every year, that they show this on the big screen and the crowd goes, yeah, woo! And I'm like looking at my Android phone going, what? I could do that in 1995. You know, he's like,
Yeah.
what?
Well, maybe not 1995,
you
but
know,
yeah,
you get my point. I was like,
hey,
what?
hey, listen,
I've been able to do that for 10 years.
This is my Pixel 7 Pro. My Pixel 8 Pro is the one I'm actually doing the camera. There's a camera with. I put I was gonna say iOS. Don't block me. Don't block me. I put Android 15 beta 3 because it came out yesterday, and I was like, what? It's the third beta. Remember what I told you? I'm gonna put this on this, and then the fourth beta I will put on my main phone. I put this on, and I swear to you, in less than 10 minutes flat, it was so good. It is. They're treating it like it's not a major, and all these people on the internet are like, "Well, it's not a major update. There's just a few little tweaks here and there." It is a massive major update. There are so many things better in this, including how it took all the jank and eliminated it completely. Well, not completely. It feels like it on my Pixel 8 because my Pixel 8 was getting a little janky, but now it's not again. And you notice the video is much smoother and not freaking out. Well, that's partially because I'm plugged in too, but I put it on there too. And the only issue I've actually had are two things, and one everyone else has had it. Not everyone, a lot of people. And the other one is my one credit card. Everything else works. All my tap to pay, except one credit card. Even though the tap to pay works, I cannot open the app. It will not authenticate. I can open it, but it won't authenticate. Luckily, they have a website that's secure, and I use the same authentication. So I can still get in there and see how much money I have to give them right this minute. But nonetheless, some of the new features in this are things that they're also bragging about in iOS 18, and I thought that was funny.
Well, the thing is, like, what you got to consider, and this is why I say their marketing is everything, because that's gonna get people to buy a new iPhone. The fact that you can move your icons.
Absolutely. Yes.
Like how brilliant is that?
Usually
to restrict that basically from your user base, and then release it in a later. They plan their feature releases way in advance. I mean, this is like decades out.
No, you're absolutely right. See, your dad is laughing, right? And I know why he's laughing. Because it's like, well, we've been doing that for a long time, and all the Apple the sheeple, have been saying, "Oh, that's stupid. It's cluttered. We don't need to do that. If I needed to do that, blah 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 blah." And the first time they said, "Well, we're going to let you group them into folders," they went right on. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, well, we've been doing that since Android 2, I think 2.1, right? Something like that. And now this is coming. They're going to say, and then they just think this. Oh, Google should copy this. Google already has everything you're talking about.
Copying, and if we Google, don't have let's make this clear.
Even if they do, here's the thing: I want Apple to innovate. I want them to get better, because if there's no competition, then basically Samsung wins. Google won't be able to keep making Pixels, because where's the competition? Going to just go against Samsung? No, right? Samsung will just buy out Google because they won't have anybody to sell to if there's no Apple. No one will care. They'll just buy Samsung, and then Samsung can put whatever they want on it. It won't matter if it's good or not, because that's what everybody will be buying. And then we're done. So competition is the best thing. So I agree. Their marketing is great. Google has clever marketing that's funny, but it doesn't speak to people. Nobody knows what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, that's why I think the marketing is like, it's a great phone for a great price. Like it kind of sells itself. You don't really need to, push it as hard as an iPhone, because it doesn't cost $1,000.
No,
at least for the
the A, yeah, but then again, you don't pay $1,000 for the smallest iPhone either.
So, yeah, it's like 700 or maybe 650.
He doesn't buy anything. He only buys A series phones because he won't spend the money on it.
No, I will never.
Oh, are you serious?
No.
Yeah.
It's a complete waste of money.
Oh, well, what kind of phone do you have then? What do you have?
I have the 7A.
Oh, okay, all right. So you're well versed in this whole Pixel stuff. There we go.
Yeah, I've always had pixels. The thing is, with technology, and this goes the same thing for TVs, for monitors, for cameras.
Yeah.
They get replaced every 2 years. They double pretty much in their ability, and when they double, they completely lose their value. Right? You never really get your money back on a phone. Maybe a little bit, maybe.
I never do because I've kept all my phones. I just keep them.
So it's it's a sunk cost. It's gone, right? Like that's money you're never gonna get back. So I'd rather spend it on traveling, right? I'd rather buy a ticket.
I get that. And you know what? If the phone does what you want it to do, then why not, right?
And I don't really see. I mean, from my perspective, what else do you need from a phone that a 7A doesn't provide?
Well, I tell you one thing the 7A couldn't do is offer you the picture you're seeing right now exactly as it is.
But he doesn't do that.
It wouldn't be the same quality.
It's got a really good camera.
No, but it couldn't do this because this is a 50 megapixel sensor. 7A doesn't have a 50 megapixel.
I believe the A's have the same camera, no?
No, it doesn't have a 50. Even the Pixel 7 Pro didn't have a 50 megapixel. That was only started in the 8.
Okay. Well, okay. So I guess outside of something that's a profession, like outside of something that you require for, the job or something that you need, but like for 99% of the user base, I feel like you can.
I agree. And the thing is that for some reason, for a couple of years, you couldn't even buy a new Pixel in India, and they finally went back and started doing that again. And now they're giving them services that they weren't giving them for a number of years. And they almost everything that you can get in the U.S. you can now get in India, which includes all of the Pixel lineup from the A all the way to the Pro. And that's a huge market. Yeah, that's a massive market.
But they have their own.
They're doing something right in Japan. Japan is out. The Pixels in Japan are outselling the iPhones. They're outselling Samsung in Japan, which is
wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's a Google Fi subscriber too, because the way he travels, it's like he pretty much has service almost anywhere he goes.
That's actually pretty good. I did not know that because we don't get Fi here, so.
They make it really easy to swap, and then also with Fi, you get 50% off all their phones.
50.
So I don't pay. I haven't paid over $250 for a phone in the past 4 years, and I get a brand new 7A.
Then why didn't you get an 8A?
Because
I'll tell you why. Because the 8A ain't going to be that much different from the 7A, anyways.
Right.
There's a few things that are different, but all of the stuff that was only for the 8 series, when the 8A was announced, they said that's going to have this as well, and even one thing that I had to wait for on my 8 Pro. Most of that stuff is as of this week or last week available on 7 and even some cases 6 series. So a lot of those things that were exclusive to Pixels are in some cases open to all Android phones. So even if you haven't got some of those updates yet, you will. So there's a lot more that your phone can do now than when you got it, I guarantee it. And that's one thing I like about all Android phones. They don't just say, oh, you're going to get a new iOS and it's going to work differently, you're going to have this 3 or 4 new features and be able to do your folders differently. You get feature drops, and you get new things, and even if you don't have a Pixel, you get new stuff. Samsung puts their own new things on, sometimes based on Android or the Android versions. At other times, they just say we can do it better, and they make it directly in One UI.
Yeah, and the thing is, like Android and iOS is so different because Android's a decentralized platform, right? There's like a lot of different companies that develop on Android. There's only one company that develops on iOS. So
exactly,
again, like the competition, like you said, it doesn't really work the same way for iOS because it's just Apple.
Yeah, exactly. But their competition is basically against everybody else, but they don't ever really look at it that badly in a panicky state because they know that they could survive off the US market alone because they have such I mean it's massive. But the interesting thing is they went from computers to they started to make more money on iPods. And then it shifted over to iPhones, and then it kind of shifted to computers and iPads combined back to phones. And now basically, if you take just the phones, it's I think 50% or more than everything else Apple makes money on, and it's kind of mind-boggling and scary. If people stop buying their phones, they would have to rely only on their computers. They'll say, well, yeah, a lot of people have their computers, millions, tens of millions. That's very true. But compared to people using Windows, they wouldn't be competitive.
And it's also too that people are going to buy a phone a lot sooner. They're going to drop $2,500, $3,000 on the top iMac, or something. So
yeah.
Another fun fact: Apple makes $350 million a day in profit, and net profit. They make a little over $100 billion a year in net profit.
I'm sorry, what now?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I've ever heard that number before. Was that actually a number, or did you make that up?
I'm not making that up. Look it up.
No, seriously, I found a $5 bill in my wallet once.
No, it's the thing. Like that. At one point, they had over $200 billion in cash reserves.
That's just like my checking account. I mean,
can I just explain to you that somewhere around 1961, I don't think there was that much money in the world.
Probably.
No.
Well, at least 1941, anyways. I mean, that was kind of the joke in Austin Powers. You remember the $1 billion?
Yeah.
And they laughed at him. They said, there isn't that much money in the whole world.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And to put that in perspective, that's Elon Musk's net worth is a little over 200 billion for one man. It's another crazy thing.
I swear to you, when I was young, and I knew about I forgot his name. The aviator guy from the turn of the previous century there. Good God, I can't remember his name. Sorry?
The aviator guy.
Yeah, the guy with Spruce Goose guy. The big wooden plane. What's the matter with
the
me?
Wright brothers? No, Spruce Goose, you said. I was thinking the first flight.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of the name off the top of my head.
That is so weird. I can't remember his name.
They made a movie about him.
He was, for a time, the richest man in the world because he had a little over 1.5 or $2.5 billion or something like that. And I thought, my God, could you imagine having that much money? Like 10 years later, I found out that the richest man in the world had $16 billion. I was like, what the hell? How did that change so fast? What? Rockefeller, what did he have? Like $400 or $500 million, which in 1920 something would have been sick.
Yeah,
or 30 something or whenever that
would have been around 400 billion.
Yeah, he would have been richer than Musk in reality. So people will say, well, he did have hardly money. Yeah, but for its day. But then again, his money probably would go further today even than it did then. And the reason why I say that is because if you went to an expensive restaurant, a piece of steak could be as much as $5 in 1922. You can get a filet mignon in an expensive restaurant, a 5-star restaurant, for like $100. A 5-star restaurant, $5 to $100 versus 400 million to 200 billion. It doesn't match up the same numbers, right? It's not the same. So you would, as a rich person, right?
I've never paid $100 for a filet.
No.
Filet is like the tops. Okay.
Okay, sorry. I guess I'm thinking Canadian money. You're absolutely right. You are. It's Canadian money. So, because in all honesty, I usually pay between 45. Well, not now. I don't have any money right now, but 45 and 65, depending on the restaurant, for a filet mignon. It also depends on it. Is it a 4-ounce or an 8-ounce? Because I ain't ordering no 16-ounce filet mignon.
Yeah, I'd never eat it.
I wouldn't be able to eat it, and even if I could, who's gonna sell me a car so I can sell it and pay for the meal? A 16-ounce filet mignon, that'd be expensive because the 4-ounce is usually, well, at least a few years ago, anyways, it was averaging around $45 to $55 in Toronto, except for the most expensive restaurants were $65 or so dollars.
Yeah, 4 ounces. That's not even worth the juice.
No, it's a nugget.
Yeah, what? That's
right.
a medallion.
It's a nugget. It is a medallion. But again, but the thing is that you could get the 8-ounce one for about $10-12 more. That's not like they were doubling the price. So people who ordered the small one didn't want a lot of food, or they wanted a lot more vegetable or potato or soup, right?
And you know what surprised me today? Actually, I was thinking about this morning because I went to Kroger. The meat prices here in Nashville compared to San Antonio are almost 40% more.
Oh, wow.
Come to Canada. Come to Canada.
Because like a choice ribeye, because I buy ribeyes almost like every Friday, and the choice ribeye in San Antonio, you're going to pay around $10 to $11 a pound. Here at Kroger, you're paying $18.
Okay,
Huh.
you said choice ribeye?
Choice ribeye,
Let's see.
not prime, not
Choice.
even prime, just choice. So like the bottom of the barrel, like cheapest cut. You're paying around
Choice
$18.
ribeye cost at Sobeys.
Because I buy a 2.5 pound tomahawk usually, and I'll pay less than $40.
Jeez.
I'll pay less than $40 for a 2.5 pound tomahawk, bone-in ribeye from the store. Here, that'd probably be $70.
Yeah, I'm trying to find something that has a price on it from one of our actually more expensive grocery stores.
Our funny little story is, and this is many years back. Susan's dad has passed, but when he was alive, we had ate at this restaurant in Nashville, and they have a particular, like, you could actually go up to the case and look at the steaks and pick the one you wanted. They could pretty much do anything you want, right? And
Yeah.
they had one particular cut that was, they didn't show the price. They just said, market price by the ounce. And he's like, yeah, I want this many ounces of that. And they looked at me and said, are you sure? He's like, yeah. $154 slice of steak.
Yeah.
We all started busting out. He's like, what? He ate most of it, but I'm like $154 for a slab of steak. I'm just like,
it's probably dry aged or
Have
something.
you ever got purchased or had anybody offer you Kobe beef?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, it is absolutely phenomenal. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's marbled so unbelievably. There's no cows anywhere else in the world that are like that. So that's why it's so bloody expensive. But
they have Japanese and American, which
it can cost well over $100 for a piece that's like
yeah.
And it's only this thick, and you end up slicing thin pieces just so you can say, well, here's a snack. You don't make a burger out of this stuff. It's too expensive. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I mean, American Wagyu is pretty close, but it's not as expensive, obviously, because it's here. But Japanese, like A5 Wagyu, which is like the prime cut, you're paying in a restaurant, you'll pay probably around $300 to $400 per 16 ounces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's about it's pretty close to the same thing in Canada, just to buy the beef itself, not in a restaurant.
Yeah.
So I think there's only a couple of restaurants where you can even order it, and it's probably only a few times a year. Like, it's not like they have a bunch in the freezer or something.
And
like
honestly,
that. You're not allowed to freeze that kind of stuff anyways, but
yeah, it's not worth it. You can get, like, if you get a prime ribeye, honestly, if you know how to cook it well, it's not far off. It's just the thing is the Japanese, the Wagyu, it's got so much intramuscular fat that it's got so much juice, and it just like coats your whole mouth.
Well, yeah, it's that marbling. That's why. That's what
like a dessert.
What does it.
It's like a dessert steak. It's just
it is. And I mean, I went to see what it 2 years ago. I drove up to my friend's cabin or cottage, about an hour and a half, 2 hours from here or whatever. And I think sometime in the evening, and he's getting ready to barbecue, and he's making hamburgers or steaks or whatever. I can't remember. And he says, "Oh, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Hang on a second." And he grabs a plate and he puts these tiny little pieces of meat. And I said, and he says, "That's Kobe beef. Everybody's getting a little bit." And we just basically took that and went, oh my God, it was like heaven. It's like melts in your mouth. And then he's got a little bit more. So he gives everybody a little bit. And he says, okay, that's it. I'm done. I said, I hate to ask. First of all, thank you. But what did that cost you? He says, because it was about $185. I said, you just paid to give everybody a bite-sized piece of meat. It cost you $185. It took you 37 seconds to cook it and about 5 seconds for it to be eaten for $185. How much did the rest of the meat and buns, relish, mustard, ketchup, potatoes, potato salad, whatever you got out here, and beverages cost, and your gas. He says, well, probably less than $200 for everything, including the gas. So, yeah, and he's almost doubled that with a snack of meat. But I'm not complaining because it was, oh my God, it was good. I just doubt I'll ever get to taste it again. Unless it's cheap in Japan and I ever get to go to Japan. I imagine it's probably cheaper there, right?
It's a little cheaper.
A little. Oh God. So it's still, is it still a delicacy there too?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's
It's not
another
as
thing.
common. I mean, it's, you know, it's still for them prohibitively expensive for regular eating.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think the one thing about Japan is I you know, I can honestly say this. I wouldn't want to live there. I'd love to visit. I'd never want to. Well, it just depends on where you go. But I wouldn't want to live any place like Kyoto, Tokyo, Nagasaki, any place where I'd be lucky to find an apartment the size of my bed. They'd be considered big. And anybody thinks it's not a joke, look at YouTube. There's people videos on YouTube. They literally have to build stoves and showers into the same pieces. I mean, it's like ridiculous. But that's what they do. It's a small island with more people than Canada 8 times over.
Yeah.
Wait, how many times over? How many people are in Japan? I don't remember.
No idea.
It's a lot times over. It's way more than Canada, that's for sure. You can put everybody from Japan in Canada with plenty of room.
Yeah. Oh, here's an interesting thing. So at work, I did this calculation. So you can fit every single person in the world, everyone, all 8 billion people, inside of Texas in 6-person households with a 1/4 acre of land, all with their own house.
A 1/4 acre. That's
1/4 acre, 6-person per house. Every single person in the world, you can fit it inside the square mileage of Texas.
So if there's an apocalypse, we're heading down to San Antone.
Maybe. I mean, that's not including, infrastructure and, supply chain distribution.
Oh, hell with infrastructure. Scoop your own poop and get on with it.
Yeah.
No. Well, you know what? I'm glad you didn't use Ontario as an example because I don't want all 8 billion people here. But Ontario actually dwarfs Texas in size, which is crazy.
Sure it does. It is big, yeah.
But at the same time, half of Ontario is well, it's not unlivable. It's not that far north, but it's far enough north that the winters are stupid and brutal, and you wouldn't want to live there.
Right.
Also, you couldn't farm on a lot of it because it's literally just the Canadian Shield. Once you go a certain distance north, it's just rock with trees growing out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you guys have Ice Road Trucker.
That's show. Mostly Yukon and Alaska.
Yeah.
So
I know it's just a joke, but who wants to live up that far north? No.
Yeah.
Well, amazing enough, some people do. Don't get me wrong. I would love to visit the Yukon and Alaska. But I would probably be a wussy and go in the middle of summer when the sun did not set.
I would 100% go in the middle of summer. I am
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I'd like to see the landscape of Nome. Isn't that where that's where the 9-point quake was in the 50s, wasn't it?
I don't know.
There's pictures of where the road split, and it dropped like 8 feet or 6 feet or something like that. So I just want to know if they actually left it like that and just moved the road over, because it would look like a really interesting landscape, and they probably got like plaques somewhere commemorating it.
There's this place, I can't remember where it is. I don't know if it's I think it's somewhere in Asia, but there was a sinkhole in the middle of a city that was like a perfectly circular sinkhole.
Sorry, Anchorage. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but it was Anchorage that had with the earthquake. Sorry, go on.
Oh, okay, Anchorage. Okay. Yeah, no, there's this place. You can look it up, but there's a massive. I mean, we're talking like 300-foot diameter circle, maybe even more. That it was like a 400-foot deep sinkhole that literally just is a perfectly circular, just drop. I mean, there's houses and buildings just in the middle of a city. Just
damn.
I don't.
I think I have a vague memory of seeing something about that, but I don't remember at all where that is. That, you know what? That's something interesting that I and I don't even know if I really have the guts to it, but I think I'd like to have the guts to do it. That's what do they call it? Spelunking.
Mhm.
They're basically open cave mouths you go spelunking into, and they basically look like giant sinkholes, but it's a cave that just starts from the ground straight down to get into the cave, and there are some where are so big, somewhere in South America, I'm thinking, where they literally uh, uh, base jump into
Mhm.
it because it's so wide and so deep.
Yeah.
They just jump out and pull the chute,
Yeah.
or jump in
Yeah.
and
They,
pull the chute. Pardon me. And
yeah.
that would be fun. I base jumping is something I could actually see myself attempting.
Yeah. There's a really popular one
Skydiving,
in
for
Moab.
some reason, I'm more scared to skydive. One gives you more time to panic and pull a second chute. The other one doesn't have a second chute because you wouldn't have time to use it.
Base jumping is very dangerous.
Yeah, and I don't know why it would. For some reason, I feel like it would scare me less. But
There is a really popular tandem base jump in Moab, Nevada. It's very popular.
I'm sorry, tandem base jump.
Yes, because obviously, if you're gonna like a tandem skydive, you're strapped to the front of
Oh, I
somebody.
ain't never, I ain't never doing that. I'll take 10 times the classroom lessons if I have to before I will let somebody
Well, you're
strap me
talking
to
base
their
jumping. You're
chest.
talking years and years of skydiving to be able to base jump,
I realize that. I realize I wouldn't be able to do the base jump. And
or
technically I
tandem,
could, but I
or
would
tandem.
likely have to do it illegally and I would die on the first attempt. So I'm not
That's
going to
no
do
fun.
that.
That's
But
just a one and done. Or tandem. You just get strapped to the front of someone who's done it 10,000 times
never, no.
because they don't want to
I'm
die.
never do.
You know
I will never do it. But it has
why?
happened. It has
Why not?
happened. It has happened. That's
So,
why.
so you wouldn't tandem skydive either?
No, absolutely not. I would happily take whatever amount of lessons because I've heard, depending on where you go, you could take a very small amount of lessons and then get strapped to somebody's chest and jump out of a plane at his
You
beck
don't
and
do
call.
it. Strapped
But
to-
but you could take longer lessons, learn better, do some your ground practice stuff, and then actually jump out of a plane with your
Yeah.
own parachute. And I will do that at the drop of a hat. I mean, for some of us, we've done more in life, and we just don't want to be strapped to somebody else's. But I don't go anywhere unless I'm the one driving. I don't like to go in other people's cars. I don't like to not be in control. Uh,
Flying the plane.
I spent years doing martial arts, even tried boxing once. And when I say that, I mean that the guy punched me 6 times and I bled out. But so I won't count that one. I'm just kidding about that one. But several martial arts actually for years I practiced. I was a professional wrestler, not a good one, but a professional wrestler nonetheless. And I even taught though in the gym, taught some of the wrestling, um, and done a lot of stuff. But uh, I'm not afraid of any of that stuff in that sense. If I make up my mind to do it, my fear won't be that I can't do it. It would literally just be that the parachute is going to fail. But the chances of both your parachute and your backup failing are pretty small. So, provided I'm going to the right place and I learn everything properly, I wouldn't make my first jump until I could pack a chute properly, blindfolded. And I'm not even joking. I would feel that way about that. I mean, it
So
just
so
doesn't make
you
any sense to
you
me to do
can't
that
get your
otherwise.
license until you do it. You have to do a tandem jump before you can start the
I
process to
don't
jump.
think I'm not sure that's true anymore.
I
Or
I
is.
I
I've
He
been
knows
told by an
for a fact
instructor that
because he's getting his license.
I have my license. Yeah, I have my
yeah,
skydiving license.
but I think the
Just
guy
got
was
it
an
2 months
instructor.
ago.
Maybe he lied to me. I don't know, or maybe it's different here. But because I actually called once and asked about it, and they said, "No, this is how many lessons you have to take if you don't want to do tandem." And they go through a lot more stuff. Like it takes a long time. Like instead of X amount of hours or whatever it is, it's like X amount of weeks before they'll
Well,
let you do it.
so
And you
you
also
jump
can't
you jump.
technically jump alone either. You can't just book a plane and do it. You
Yeah.
have to go with them in their class. The instructor is literally jumping out with you. You're just not
Yeah.
strapped to him.
So yeah,
But
so for USPAA license, which is the first license you get, which allows you to jump anywhere in the world and on your own, you
okay,
the first one is supposed to be a tandem. The second one you do a ground class, so it's an 8-hour ground class, and then you do your first jump. And when you jump, you have 2 instructors that hold you in free fall. one on either side, and then obviously you pull your chute, and then you canopy down and you land. But your first jump, 100% for USPA, United States Parachuting Association, which is internationally recognized, has to be a tandem jump. So either way,
So I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna listen to you because you know way more. I sorry, I didn't hear that because his laugh actually cut off your voice. But I'm gonna listen to you because you know way more about that stuff than I do.
You can do it. Like you can do it.
Unfortunately, that means if I have to tandem jump, I'm never jumping, and it's an unfortunate thing. Yeah, because I'm just not putting my hands in somebody else. If they decide to have a heart attack, if they what if he has a massive coronary and I'm like going like this? I'm like, what the hell? No.
Well, there's an AAD, so there's an automatic activation device that'll automatically deploy your chute if you reach a certain altitude without deploying it. So you're good.
But what if it fails too? I've seen this stuff. It's
what
happened.
If the sinkhole opens up underneath your bed tonight? You might as well not go to sleep.
Actually, it's not possible.
Stand outside in the middle of the street.
It's not possible here. We don't get sinkholes here because of the ground we're on. Nice try. Anyways, basically, yeah, I'm scared. So I don't think I could do it. I hope we're okay that we've gone a minute and 2 seconds. 1 hour and 2 minutes and 41 seconds. Well, we're not streaming, you said, right? This is just a recording, so it doesn't really matter. Yep. Okay, we're good. I was just concerned about that. That's all. That and being strapped to somebody's back, but or somebody's stomach rather. Yeah. So that's really it. That's really it. You just crushed my dream. Thanks, man.
Sorry. No, you can still do it.
Crush the Canadian like a bug.
You can still do it. You can do it. I believe in you. I jump with a guy that has a fear of heights.
And you don't think I do?
Yeah, but he jumps out of planes every weekend, and he's afraid of heights. But for some reason, when he jumps out of planes,
listen, I can tell you why he does that. I've always been afraid of heights too. I had the job I had where I was working in that chocolate place a few years back, several years back now. Every year we had to clean we had to close down the chocolate coating room and clean everything, including on top of the machines. Like we had to do that more often than once a year, obviously, but it was a deep cleaning where everything had to be shut down. And we'd spend like 2 days doing this, and they had to get somebody to go up on top, get on the ladder, get on top of the machine. And everyone's like, oh, you go up there. And I was like, God, it has to get done. What's the matter with you? And it's just me being the right-hand man with no authority, but the right-hand man of the boss nonetheless. So I'm like, all right, well, it's got to get done. And obviously we're not going to get the boss to do it because he's getting ready to go up the ladder. And that would have just been bad news for everybody. So I just went up there and I did it. And I terrified. I was up there like this the whole time for like 2 hours cleaning all these machines. I had to go up each one and go like this. I'm hanging on to pipes that are too hot to hang on to. And after that, I have no issues anymore. With that, I am still terrified of heights, but I got to get up on the roof to clean some windows.
Bungee jumping.
Angle roof. And I did no, absolutely not.
You're in control.
Are you crazy? No, you're not in control of shit. The elastic band that's going to snap your ankles, and then it's going to snap, and then you're going to fall to your death. Listen, there are videos on YouTube. Tell me that. Oh, and what about that bungee jumping? Not jumping, the bungee ride that goes up, two people sit in a chair, and the one snaps and goes slamming into the side, puts one of the guys in the hospital. And how about the other one where the guy was lucky? Had he turned his head,
I'm sure there's been someone that's
down to the ground. What's that?
I'm sure someone's died podcasting before.
Unfortunately, that might be true. People have died gaming. They've been swatted. It's happened. People get swatted while gaming. You should be careful. Don't let anybody know where you live there. You don't want to get swatted while gaming.
I could fall over and accidentally stab my eyeball in this microphone and then die from a brain concussion.
You're talking about bungee jumping, though, man. Come on, that is inherently ridiculously dangerous.
I bungee jumped twice. I skydived once. He skydives every weekend.
I'll zip line with you. I would skydive at the drop of a hat if I didn't have to tandem on somebody's stomach. But listen, I gotta ask before I forget. I gotta ask a question. let's go back in time a couple of years. We'll go to the hot tub time machine or George Carlin's phone booth or whatever. Go back a couple of years, and we're playing Ghost Recon Wildlands. Which one of you mofos took your helicopter and slammed into me face first with your helicopter on purpose? Which one was it?
Something else.
Oh, that was
would be
you.
me.
I thought it was Blake. Oh, that's right. It was
No.
you. But Blake was cheering you on.
Yes,
I remember that.
I was too busy passed out on the ground.
No, that
Having
was
the cops
that
call on me.
was later. That was later.
We were talking about this earlier. Yeah.
Oh, really? But we had to bring up some jovial stuff, though. We absolutely did. I don't know how long are we going to go with this one, Robert. What are you thinking?
Well, I don't really care. I mean,
You don't really care.
I mean,
Well-
I don't know that there's a time limit, but you know.
Well, hey, this is up to you entirely. Long form content, right?
More content.
Yeah. So okay, let me ask then. We talk about obviously United States, Canada. So, do you have any aspirations to see any specific places in Canada? I'm not necessarily talking about just the cities. It's cities are cities, but other things, like the Rockies or the Maritimes or Quebec or anything like that.
I would love to see everywhere.
Yeah, I guess
There's no so specifically, yeah, the Rockies, like the Northern Rockies. Cities, obviously, like I would love to go to Toronto.
Yeah.
I really like I like the cultural aspect of like Quebec, the French influence. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that kind of travel around. But like my mindset is like there's nowhere in the world that I wouldn't want to go. Like I want to go everywhere. There's if I had an unlimited amount of money, yeah, I wouldn't do anything except travel.
So if you were Elon Musk, you'd say to hell with this damn spaceship. I'm gonna head over. I'm gonna go head over to Myanmar right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I would too if I had the dough. I would happily go just about anywhere. Like go to the airport with a passport and just say, "You got a ticket?"
Yep.
I say anywhere where someone's just canceled. I'll wait.
Yeah, but maybe like Newfoundland. I could go to Newfoundland. I think that's a little interesting area.
Well, I think it'd be great to go to Newfoundland by. The Newfoundlanders by. They like it. They will talk differently. You'll start to wonder, are these guys Irish or are they Newfoundlanders? No, they're Newfoundlanders. They sing in all kinds of songs like "I's the boy that built the boat and I's the boy that sailed her." No, they got some nice culture. I haven't been to the Maritimes yet, and that was actually my planned vacation from a couple of years ago. A few years ago, COVID stopped that one at first, and then I was either last year or the year before. I can't remember. I can't remember why I didn't go the last time. But when the COVID stopped, what happened was it was actually after COVID. But I couldn't go because COVID had ended and everybody's booking everything, right? I could not, and this is months ahead. I couldn't book a plane. I couldn't get a train ticket. I couldn't get a bus ticket. I couldn't rent a car. I didn't own a car at the time. I couldn't rent a car. All car rentals were booked for 6 months in advance, except for maybe okay, I'll just I'll walk and drive a lot. I'll rent a bicycle when I get there. Hire a bike or something, right? Take taxis, whatever I have to do. Just get me there. Train, bus, whatever. Nothing. I'm like, even if I find something, I got to find a bed and breakfast or something because I couldn't get an Airbnb. They're booked solid too until almost Christmas, for crying out loud. So I'm like, you know what? Let me see if I can actually find a place that I could stay in September, even though I don't want to go take my summer vacation in September. So I checked that out. There was one place available at the end of September, no planes, trains, or any form of automobiles, or John Candy for that matter, available even that day. So I was like, you know what? I guess I'm just going to drive my car and look at some caves up
There you go.
up in Ontario. And then I picked the
Caves are nice.
wrong 2 caves, neither of which were actual caves. They were just openings in the rock. Drove 5 hours to see an opening in the rock, and then I had to drive back home. So,
Well, I guess it's better than no hole and no rock.
well, listen, it's beautiful, but the next time I go out, I'm going to go all the way out. This is basically like a peninsula. And next time I'm going to drive all the way to the end of it, and then you can get on a boat and go to a little island at the end, and it actually has caves in the water. So next time I'm going to go see that. There's some really absolutely gorgeous places to see in Ontario, but while I love to just go out with a camera by myself and do stuff, I have no desire to drive for like 6 or 7 hours and then spend the next 3 days entirely by myself, unless I've got, some place to actually stay for 6 or 7 days where, it's fine. But I would have to be moving around a lot in the places I want to go. And it's just not something I want to do alone. It kind of makes it less interesting. If I got one place to go and I'm going to stay for 3 or 4 or 5 days, then I'll do it. Absolutely. But moving around a lot, I don't really like to do that alone that much.
Yeah, I get that. I enjoy my trips I do alone. Traveling with friends or good company is always it's always better because you always have someone to like bounce ideas off of, talk to.
Yeah.
Like you always have something going on. But when you're by yourself, you're forced to, at least like traveling in Europe, at least, or really anywhere in a city, you're forced to like talk to other people and get to know people, and then you make like some of the greatest friends that you'll ever have. Sometimes traveling alone. And then some of the great experiences can come from that too. So
I can see why that would both the good and one not bad, but both ends of it. On the one hand, there are times where you might want to be out on your own a lot more because there's things you want to do that they may not be interested in. Everybody wants to see a little of this and a little of that. It might give you less time with the thing that you want to see, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, when you are traveling with friends, there's just a different level of fun that you get to have that you never really give yourself permission to have that same fun when you go by yourself.
You're right.
I've had times where I refused to stop at an ice cream place because I was alone and I couldn't make up my mind, do I really want that right now? Whereas a friend would have said, yeah, let's go there, or no, let's go to the place across the street and get that instead. And and then you're having fun and you're meeting other people and you're talking to them.
Yeah.
Instead, I just, I'll walk into the store, grab a Butterfinger, eat it on the street and keep going. And you better not lay a finger. I don't know what that was.
It's like Popeye.
It's a chuckle.
Okay. All right. Anyway,
You didn't watch too many cartoons, I guess, huh?
Well, I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Not so much anymore. Hey, great shirt, by the way. Yeah, make sure the camera sees that real clear.
And there's going to be links where you can go purchase these from our merch store after you hit that like and subscribe button.
That's right. You got to do that. Like and subscribe.
And Sean's got a really nice mug that some really cool dude bought him for his birthday that apparently he never uses. But
no. I use it all the time. I just can't get it right now because when I set this up, I have a temporary studio here thing because where I was before wasn't really going to be. It wasn't permanent anyways. But I had to get everything out of there and move into my personal space here. I just don't really have it set up yet properly. So I'm basically trapped. I'm sitting on the end of my bed. I've got my light here, my camera, the nightstand with the computer, the TV over there. Wall and a wall. If I get up, I'm going to start kicking things over. So I basically, I can see the mug. I can see the mug over there. So I'm looking at the mug. The mug has been great. It's loved the coffee that it's been able to have every morning. It thanks you.
What's your favorite? What kind of coffee you drink?
I drink.
Folders.
what is it called? Marble or something. It's
Little
a
cafe.
brand that's made specially for a cheap store called Giant Tiger, which is
Giant.
basically one level above a dollar store.
Okay.
But they sell better stuff than a dollar store. So it's a
Fair.
discount store. And they've gotten so popular. They started in Quebec, actually. Le Tigre Géant. But anyways, they started in Quebec, and they're very successful. They have hundreds of stores all across Canada now.
He has
So
to
now they have their own bands. I don't speak a word.
Okay. But you live in Toronto, so do you ever encounter situations where like people don't speak English but French?
Not so much here, and very rarely. But then again, the only places I've been to in Quebec are what used to be called Hull, but that's now a neighborhood in another town. I can't remember the name of that. Please don't shoot me, anybody who lives there. It's basically the other side of the river from Ottawa, so a lot of people think of it like a suburb, even though it's in a different province. And most of the people there, because it's next to Ottawa, do speak fluent English and fluent French. Some of them speak one a little better than the other. I've been to Montreal. God, I don't even know how many times, because it's only 5.5 hours from here. And if I used to go visit a buddy of mine in Ottawa, and it was only an hour from Ottawa to Montreal. So we drive to Montreal for a day or two as well. And Montreal got so many English speaking people that even if they speak French all day, every day, a lot of them don't even have an accent, even if they were born there. So,
yeah.
Ironically, though, he does speak some German.
Well, I explained that, though.
German?
I knew a German girl who was from Süddeutschland. She's the one who first served me the Spätzle und Schnitzel.
All right.
Aber mein Deutsch ist nicht gut. Nicht gut. See, I said it wrong. I said my German is not good. Yep. I could probably understand more than I could speak, and that's still maybe a single cell on a hair on a donkey worth of knowledge. That's it.
Yeah, it's hard to learn a language if you're not surrounded by it and listening to it and having people speak it to you.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And the funny thing is, if I meet people who speak a language and I'm like, well, I want to learn your language. No, that's great. I want you to learn. Yeah. And they'll teach me a couple of phrases or a word or something like that. And then I'll go back and I'll try to say something to them. And I learn, the next day, and they go, oh, it's really good. And I say, can you say it to me in your language? Oh, no. I need to speak English. But you speak it fluently. Okay.
Well, then you got to meet someone who doesn't speak fluent English. That's the thing.
I got neighbors that speak Cantonese next door. They don't speak a word of English. Unfortunately, it's so far off. And here's the biggest problem. There is nothing anywhere that uses vocal anything that you can use to speak Chinese or Cantonese. Mandarin up the yin yang.
Yeah, Mandarin, yeah.
No Cantonese anywhere, and I don't understand it. But so it's if they lived next door, they spoke Mandarin, I could just open up one of several apps, walk over and say something, and then it would pronounce it for them, and then it'll all be good. Have you been to China?
No.
Would you ever go, or not at this time?
I would go tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have some good friends that went not too long ago. They said they love it. I mean, they don't get very many tourists. So especially as like a tall white guy, they say like the people will act like you're a celebrity, like because they only see you in like movies. Really?
Yeah. Maybe I'd fit in a little bit more. I'm not that tall.
Or even someone that's just not China. They really don't get many tourists outside of maybe Mongolia, maybe Vietnam, Korea.
Well, lots of places in China do get tourists now, but at the same time, because of what's been going on the last few years, most of the people traveling in China are lifelong travelers who their visas have showed them going in and out to specific tourist locations so many times that Chinese officials just don't care. Let them in, let them in, let them in.
Yeah.
But business people obviously
Well,
can go
yeah.
back and forth because they have
Yeah.
to do their business.
You have to
And
get a visa. Like that's kind of
yeah,
the first barrier to entry is you have to apply for a visa at a Chinese
yeah,
embassy.
yeah,
So that's a lot of work, and yeah,
I'm
I wouldn't
sure.
want to right now. I'll probably do it later, but
Hell, it's not even as easy in Canada. Going to Canada, the states of Canada. It used to be you just go over the border and they say, "What do you got any fruit?" No. Where are you going? Somewhere up there. Well, how long are you gonna be gone? A few days, maybe 2 weeks. All right, have a good time. Bob's your uncle. You're done. That's it. Half the time they wouldn't even ask you for a driver's license.
yeah,
Obviously, we know what changed that. You know, it's just not the same anymore. So
yeah.
now. Oh, by the way, that's another thing too, which is actually really good. Is the Gordie Howe Bridge? Please tell me you guys know what I'm talking about. No, okay. If you were in Detroit, you'd know. The Gordie Howe Bridge is a suspension bridge being built between not Windsor. I can't remember the name of the city, or is it Windsor? I think it is Windsor. Anyways, it's between Detroit and the city, the Canadian city, and it is, I think, one of the longest, or maybe the longest bridge across that spans across a border from one country to the other. It's like
Hmm.
massive because the Detroit River is like most people look at it and they're not sure. They assume it's a lake if they don't know that it's called the Detroit River. It's,
Yeah.
but it's a river and it is massively wide. And what they're not realizing is what drains one Great Lake into the other Great Lake, which is why it's so massive. Um,
Hmm.
and they just got the connection a few days ago, and there's a handshake going from the American iron worker to the Canadian iron worker. And I think in the American iron worker's case, it might have been the Canadian, but I think it was the American. He is apparently a second generation iron worker. So his father had worked on a lot of classic buildings, probably in the Detroit area, maybe from somewhere else. I'm not sure. I
Huh.
didn't get a chance to read the whole article because it was paywalled. But I thought that was pretty amazing because I mean, like this, not something you see every day. And like in my lifetime, I mean, most of the iconic bridges in the U.S. and Canada were built before either one of us were born.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So this is going to be the iconic bridge of our lifetime that will be remembered because it's
Yeah,
massive.
those guys that did ironwork way back when are a different
Yeah,
breed, man.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know if
huge.
you have seen the picture,
Oh yeah,
but there's a picture from Chicago where these iron workers were sitting on a steel beam that was being suspended, eating lunch. And they have like their hats and their Sunday shoes on, and I mean they're just dressed like average
Untethered.
people.
Yeah, untethered.
And then a current group of iron workers wanted to recreate that picture today, and so they all sat on an iron beam, and I don't know if it's the exact same location, but it looked pretty close. It did the same thing, but they all have their jackets, their work vests, their boots, and they're all tethered, and it's just like those dudes way back then, they're a different breed, man. I tell you, that's
it goes beyond being a different breed. I mean,
yeah.
that's
Well, that was their normal.
they're like
You
the
know?
gods, you know.
Like
Um,
that was their normal. That they didn't know anything different because they weren't really
There's
being
no
regulated.
OSHA.
Yeah, there was no
yeah,
regulation of that. So,
yeah, no, it was a completely
you know,
sorry, it was a completely different era. Uh, Things were completely different then. Um, I can't believe I can't get that to open. Why can't I get that to open? All right, never mind. I'll just do it like this. All right, I'm gonna share. Oh, that's right. I got to get my mouse onto the other screen. Hit the old share ski button again. Hopefully, this goes a little more smoothly than the last time. Oh, it does because I can share the Chrome tab this time. And I'm hoping you can see this. I did.
But you have to click show on stream. I guess you're not seeing that.
Somehow I'm not. Um,
Yeah, that's the picture. Yeah.
yeah, and for some reason I can't get that to come up like full screen, and I'm not gonna mess with it, but you can basically get the idea because you can see beside the two, like there's the old one, there's the new one, Unfortunately, I wanted to open up this one over here because you could see exactly what you were talking about, but it's absolutely amazing. But you might notice the height difference between the first one and second one. I think the first one, they're higher
Yeah.
up, aren't they?
Oh yeah, yeah, it does look like it.
Yeah. And
Or it could be
so,
the
but
buildings are just taller in the second picture.
that's also possible. But I couldn't make it big enough. You guys are probably seeing it better than me because I had to look over my laptop. I couldn't see it on this screen for some weird reason. It's very strange. I suppose if I moved everything over to this screen, I'd be able to see it better. But nonetheless, that is crazy though. Yeah, things are very different though. You know what? I should ask this question. Like, you mind if I ask how old are you?
27.
27. Okay, so I'm guessing you probably have no memory of riding in the back of a station wagon on a mattress on the way to the lake, no seat belts, just flapping around 80
I
miles
do
an hour
have
down the highway.
memory of riding down to the beach and what was that old had the sliding doors like a camper van. It was like a camper van.
It's like a Volkswagen bus.
No, we had one growing up that we would just lay. We took the chairs out and we would lay just like blankets and stuff, and we'd lay in it. It had the red like velvet on the inside or some.
Oh, you talking
Red
about that was
It
a
was a
Chevy
van.
Astro van.
Yeah, it was a van. Yeah, the van.
It was a Chevy conversion
van.
Astro van.
That's not that. You know what? I'll give you that. I'll give you that because that does sound a lot like something you would have done in the 70s, except you would have done it to a Volkswagen bus in the 70s. But that sounds like it's pretty much the same idea, you know. But I mean, literally, 'cause there are things that we did in the 70s that they're illegal today. I'm not just talking about people have gotten smarter. I mean, literally illegal. People just hanging out in the back of a pickup truck at 50 miles an hour down the highway, drinking beer in the open bed of the pickup truck.
Yeah.
You know that's why they started putting beer windows on them, because when the seatbelt laws first came in, and then they started having laws where you couldn't have open liquor unless it had to be in the back and still in the box or in the case or whatever. They started putting beer windows in the pickup trucks.
Yeah.
And then that's why they call them a beer window. Other people say, well, it's a utility window. They didn't have utility windows on pickup trucks until they started passing seatbelt and enforcing liquor laws with people driving them.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? I talk to my coworkers about this all the time. People talk about like the good old days, or back in the day, we used to be able to go just walk down to the gas station and no one would mess with. People talk about it as if they're safer. Since the 80s to now, almost crime across the board has gone down by almost over 50%.
No, that's actually true. That's per capita, just to be clear.
Well, statistic, yeah. If you're talking per 100,000 person basis, so it's averaged out across the population. But back in the 80s, you were way more at risk of getting kidnapped, getting raped, drugged, murdered, assaulted. 50% more likely than you are today.
Yeah, but statistically that might be true, but it's, I think what you're saying is people have to understand is that doesn't mean that you were 50% more likely that it was going to happen. It was just a 50% greater chance. So if you had 1 in a million chance that it was going to happen to you, it might be 1 in 500,000 now. Still probably not going to happen, but the opportunity is still, and I understand that. But here's the thing I think that your friend might have been talking about, and I'm sure your dad can attest to this too. When I was like 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, even 24, 25, I could be in a bar. Some guy said, "What are you looking at my girlfriend?" And a fight starts, and you go aside. Let's say he gets more shots than I do, or his are harder than mine. I go down. He basically yells at me for a minute or so, puts his hand out, helps me up, or his friend helps me up. We go inside, he buys me a beer, or vice versa. And it was like that. And schoolyard fights, same thing. Punch a kid out in the schoolyard, he punches you out in the schoolyard. Next day you're at school going, "Hey man, how you doing? Hey, we cool? Yeah, we're cool." I mean, it's not like now it's basically somebody yells at you and you're like, "Oh God, I hope he doesn't have a gun." So I think the thing is that regardless of whether there's more people or less people with guns, there's more people willing to use them now. There's also more people with illegal ones,
See,
which is the problem. Which is the
I
problem.
think
Not yeah.
that I think that perspective exists because your access to information, and I think you're more likely
No,
to
it's my
see.
experience. That's from experience. You have no idea how many times I've
Well,
had
right.
people go like this, lift their shirt and show me the gun in their waistband because they knew that I was going to kick their ass if they kept coming at me. And so they're showing me a gun to say, "You better back off, buddy." Well, you're the
Like
one who came
today?
up to me. Well, not literally
Well,
today, but
right, yeah, but I mean, like, recent. Well, right,
yes,
okay, but
yes.
so
Listen,
but
it happens no less than a few times a year.
well, right, but then
To
you have to
you
look
know.
at it from, like, a
That's
logical
just that, dude.
standpoint, right?
That's just in places like a supermarket.
Well,
I
right,
mean,
but
it's
growing up, you were more likely to live in a smaller town with less people, right, where everyone knows each other. Now you're more likely to live in a big city like Toronto, where there's a higher crime rate because there's more population density. So you're running into more people with
I
more guns.
agree. No, I agree with that
So like,
100%. There's more people and there's more crazy people. If you have more people, you're going to have more smart people. You're going to have more crazy people. You're going to have more dumb people. You're going to have more people who are healthy and more people who are not healthy. You have more of everything. So it's not necessarily that there's more of a percentage of the bad. There's just more bad, period, because
yeah,
there's more everything.
right.
And that is absolutely true. And I preach that all the time. But I literally mean what it is in the day, if you weren't having a gang war or robbing somebody, which I didn't, you didn't shoot people, period, unless you were murdering somebody. People didn't pull out a
I
gun
don't
for
know.
a street fight. At
Yeah,
that time, I'm telling you right now,
I
nobody
think the
pulled
Crips
out
and
guns
Bloods
for
would
street
argue that.
fights. It didn't happen. I mean, okay,
The
let me rephrase
Mafia,
that. It
New
did.
York,
I'm not
Boston.
talking about mafia. We're not talking. Listen, I'm not talking about organized crime. I'm talking about Joe Schmo in a bar, who the worst case scenario is you'd break a beer bottle over your head, which would still be bad. But that was 30 years ago, whatever. Today, or maybe 40 years ago, today that same guy would either get a gun, go to his car and get a gun, or call 6 of his buddies who would come down with guns to shoot you and anyone who got in the way. They don't care. You start yelling at somebody on the street. Somebody cuts you off with their car. You honk once and they brake check you, which again is something that's been going on for decades. They brake check you, lean out the window and go, "Whoa, what do you want? You want to go?" And you're like, "Shut up and keep driving." Then they get out of the car and they're going like this with a gun and going, "What are you gonna
I
do?"
feel like that's pretty
I'm
low.
gonna drive, you asshole, because why are you stopping?
I feel like that's a cognitive bias based on where you. I mean, I live in Texas, where the gun ownership is like the highest in the world, and I don't
Sure.
come across that. And I
You
go
don't
out constantly. I'm always out.
Oh, I'm not saying that happens every day, but honestly, it doesn't have to happen to me. You simply need to actually see
You
the
need to see it,
YouTube videos, a lot of
right?
them which are in place like Toronto. But here's the
And that's
thing:
why I was saying, like, you
Winnipeg,
develop a confirmation bias because you watch
Winnipeg.
these videos
It's not
and
just
you.
that's happened to me too, though. Winnipeg has a population of less than 800,000 people, and it happens in Winnipeg daily to somebody. My point is that where people used to have fist fights, now they'll pull out a gun in a situation that 40 years ago they wouldn't have pulled out a gun. Maybe they still had one, but they didn't pull it out.
Yeah,
And by
maybe.
the way, just so as you know, Canadians, I'm about to choke on something. Sorry. Canadians have way more guns than Americans think. Guns are not illegal per se in Canada. People do have gun ownership and stuff. And a lot of people, like a lot of people in America, have more than one. Lots. So it's
Yeah,
not like they don't. It's just that we do not
I
have any kind of concealed carry or open carry here. You can't do
I
it.
I think the difference is in the 80s, you didn't have the news, you didn't have social media to look for and find all these anecdotal videos of someone getting shot in a bar. Well, it happened more. You just didn't see it. Now you see it, someone gets shot anywhere. You could see someone getting shot in Indonesia on your
Right. Yeah.
phone and be like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Absolutely.
Indonesia is so dangerous. But you're seeing like one anecdotal video that's not really evidence of maybe a widespread issue.
Yeah.
It's just isolated incidents that then now you use to kind of make your perspective.
I honestly think that it's a mixture of both. I think back then there was less of a propensity to use a gun as there is now, but there's also a lot more visibility when it is used. So I think it's actually a mixture of both that creates this problem. It's just like the weather. People say, oh my gosh, the weather's so bad. Well, you know what? Tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, they've all been happening for a really long time. But now we get to see every time one happens, we get to see the aftermath.
Yeah, we see all of the news, we see the wars, we see the battles, we see everything. And in some cases, people are getting desensitized from seeing it.
Very much.
But here's what I'm talking about, just to make myself 100% clear. This is something I observed long before this whole thing became a big thing on the internet, because people getting in your face and then deciding to go and run to the car and get a gun is something that's been going on for about 15 to 20 years, where 25, 30, and 40 years ago, they might have just punched it out with you in the parking lot and then went home. One of the reasons why is because the younger people are only seeing that themselves. And a lot of it is because that's what they're seeing on the internet. That's what they're hearing from their gang buddies. If they are in gangs, if they're not in gangs, they're just assuming it's a normal thing. To them, in their head, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is how you're supposed to behave. Now, there's obviously going to be places where this is a little bit less prevalent. As you mentioned, you live in Texas. It's not as bad a thing because, let's face it, everyone's allowed to carry a gun. And it's well, I should say everyone except for convicted, but you know what I mean. And some states are like that too, but there's also states that don't allow you to carry. They're not open carry, they're not concealed carry. You're just allowed to own your guns, or you can put it in the trunk of your car. I'm not sure which states those are, but there's a few where you don't carry a gun on you unless it's conceal only. I think open carry is a harder one, right? Yeah. And in all honesty, I'd rather be in a place where open carry, because I'd like to know that the guy has one. But other people, so I'd rather it was concealed carry, and I didn't know. I said, sure, until you piss the guy off, and he turns out to be crazy. But here's the thing, and this is a big argument that we've been making. A lot of people are making in Canada, because they're like, well, we need to restrict this and we need to restrict that. And the biggest point is that legal gun owners are very rarely responsible for murders and violent crime in Canada. It's the illegal gun toters. I don't even want to say owners. And most of the time, those guns aren't even stolen from Canadians. They're brought illegally over the border. They're stolen from Americans and brought over the border illegally by Canadian and American gangs that are just making money doing it. They're and in all honesty, the fact of the matter is, I would imagine that most American gun crime is also produced by people who shouldn't have the guns, not people who have licenses. They've been suspended. They've been convicted already. I mean, there's obviously exceptions because so many people are allowed to have guns there. But at the same time, it doesn't make a lot of sense, because most legal gun owners, they've taken lessons. They've got licenses. A great many, Canada and the United States, even if they're not hunters, they go to clubs and shoot, or they own property, or has a friend who owns property where they can shoot on their property. And we have that in Canada too. You own a big enough piece of property that's far enough away from anyone else's. You're allowed to use a gun on your property to a certain extent, up to a certain point, right? And again, that's a lot of Americans don't know about Canada. Is Canadians love their guns just as much as Americans do. It's a misnomer. You heard it here. Canadians love their guns. So personally, I love my Uzi. I'm just kidding. Wait, that's entirely illegal in Canada. I'm telling you right now, you can't have an Uzi in Canada. No, Uzi. I don't even. Actually, I don't have a gun license, and to be honest with you, for many years I didn't want one. I didn't care. But after knowing other people who are gun owners and responsible gun owners, it's something that's more appealing to me. Not even a sense of protection. I just like to be able to go out to to a range and
You can rent a
shoot,
gun.
have fun. What's that?
You can rent a gun at a range.
Actually, yeah, you can, but you can only do that if you're already fully licensed in Canada.
Oh,
In
okay.
Canada,
Yeah, here
you have to
don't
go
need a
through the
license
whole
to own a gun
ball.
here. Yeah, you don't
Sorry?
even need a license. You don't need a license to even own a gun here.
Yeah,
Just need a
yeah, no,
background check.
here, absolutely you do. Although I don't know what it's how it is for Americans visiting. I suppose if you know what, I'm gonna look that up. I want to
All
know
local laws.
because there's legal gun owners in the U.S. that are responsible, and if they were visiting somebody, would they be able to actually go to a gun range with a Canadian who has a legal
Oh, that
license and
has a
gun?
license? Oh, I don't know. But you wouldn't be able
Yeah,
to
I don't
bring the
know.
oh no, you would probably
I'm
wouldn't bring
actually curious. I want to find out about that. And maybe bring that up later
and
because
which like a
I
couple
don't
years
know.
ago, Texas passed a law where you don't need a license or a permit to carry a gun in public. You can just carry a gun. Anyone can.
Wow, that's see now
Constitution carry.
that to me is foreign.
Yeah, that's extreme.
I don't know.
That's
I would go that. I wouldn't know. I would want to go that far, to be honest with you.
yeah, any person, anyone can carry a gun. Doesn't matter.
And that is scary. I mean, please tell me there's an age limit of 18 at least on that one.
Right. You have to be able to purchase the firearm.
But one thing
But
that I find odd, though, well, not is it's like there are videos on the internet, and of course, if you're not paying attention, you just look at one video, then everybody's got comments, and they don't know the gist of a story. Like a kid being taken to the range, and there's a bunch of comments. So, oh, what kind of an idiot parent would take their kids to a gun? Well, here's the thing: if you live a responsible life to a certain point, and you're teaching your child properly at a certain age, I wouldn't give a 4-year-old a gun. But it's weird. So I actually one of my favorite YouTubers it's called Autumn's Armory. This I started watching. It's the father and the mother started the channel originally. I think I don't know the whole story, but this girl was 11 at the time. She'd been shooting since she was younger than that. She did shooting competitions and won. And I think she's 13 now. She shoots better than most adults. Like she grabs like shotguns, and she's a tiny thing too, tiny for her age, and she's got double barrel shotgun, and she's just like, and she's nailing these shots. And they shoot. I think it's skeet. Yeah, I think it's skeet. They're doing skeet on their some of their videos, and she's hitting these skeet with a shotgun too. But her favorites are when she takes a handgun, and she's like grabbing a 45 with one hand. This tiny little thing, she's 4'11", I think, or something like that. And she's one-handing with a 45, and she's like bang, 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 bang. Didn't miss a shot. I'm looking at it, I'm like, what, are you kidding me? And she's making fun, poking fun of, I should say, at some guys who were saying you don't train like that. I think it was a police person says you can't do that. You have to use 2 hands or something. And she's like, what? And she's like, no problem.
Yeah, competitive shooting too. A lot of different things.
Yeah. She's like it's really amazing. But so I guess my point of that though is that if you're responsible and you do things right, I mean, there's certain things you can teach kids from a very young age if you're being completely responsible about it. This girl, and she's done videos on this, she's literally pulled guns apart and put them back together, cleaned them, repaired them, and put them back together. And it's like, and I know adults who can't do it without a manual, and even with a manual, it might take longer.
Yeah.
Right. So I couldn't do it.
With a YouTube video.
I don't own a gun, though, so of course I could. Sorry?
You could with a YouTube video. You do it.
Well, but I don't own a gun, so it's not happening anyways, right? I'm not a gun owner. But nonetheless, I have actually considered going and getting a gun license one day, because I wouldn't mind being able to go out and do some of that shooting and stuff. I don't know about the skeet. I think I'd be stuck at that. And again, Canadian. This is Canada, so I think it's about $7,000 per buckshot shell, or maybe it's $7,000 per pellet. But no, it's probably quite expensive. I imagine. It would
Skeet shooting is a lot of fun.
Skeet, yeah. I would imagine, but I honestly don't think I would be good at it at all. I don't know why. I think I would.
No one's good at
I could
anything.
learn. Well, yeah, true, but I for some reason I maybe I never would because it's in my head already. But for some reason I do think I would be better with the target with rifles. I don't think I would be good at it right away. Obviously, I'd have to practice. But to me, I think that would be more fun. But anyways, that's I'll talk about that situation.
Yeah, well, it's not as hard as it seems. I mean, it's
Yeah.
there's certain things, there's certain little tricks that you can learn that enable you to be far more accurate than what you think you can be. And ironically, I was actually way more accurate with a pump action Remington than I ever was with a semi-automatic shotgun.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I could
Okay.
do pump action Remington like nobody's business and just pluck them out of the air. And I'll never forget the last time I went shooting. It's been, I don't know, a couple of years ago. We had like, it was like this event the church put on, and like we all went out to this guy's farm. There's like 100 acres, so we could do whatever we wanted. And everyone brought their shotguns, and I tried all these semi-automatics, and I couldn't hit anything. And I was like, let me just go back to my old trusty Remington. The guy had the exact same shotgun that I used to use 20 years ago when I was married to Anthony's mom. Her dad has all kinds of weapons, but I picked that up, first one out of the chamber, man. I was like, all right, man. I just started plugging them off. Like, why weren't you using that the whole time? I'm like, I wanted to try something different. But see, that's why I just use what I know because it works. I'm good at it.
Yeah.
So, it's just, it's kind of finding your groove like anything. And, I could probably pick up that Remington tomorrow. And after a couple of practice shots, I'd be able to start hitting skeet like crazy.
Yeah, I guess a lot of things are like that. I mean, I know the only kind of shooting I have any experience with really is of course, like Ghost Recon and Modern Warfare. And we all know how good I've done in that. If anybody watches this and you've watched his gaming channel, then you've probably heard me on there. I practiced yesterday though. I'm getting a little better after watching that one YouTube video, and I'm getting a little better. I never shared the screenshots with you. I'll do that later.
Good.
I finished first with a worse score than I usually get when I finish last, so I won't brag about that one. It was a very odd game. It was a very odd game. It was a stacked on the other team, but let's leave it at that.
Well, I think on that note, we're going to wrap it up because we're approaching 2 hours.
Oh,
nice
wow. Yeah, we went way
podcast.
on.
It's been fun. A lot of, just lighthearted conversation. It's been awesome. It's been great having him on the podcast, chit-chatting and talking about some stuff. So, yeah, it's been fun. Really enjoyed it.
We definitely. Sorry, I'm just looking at the calendar because I'm trying to see how much time is okay, so we got next week. All right, so basically next week we have a normal show, and then after that we're gonna do our few extra ones for Candependence week.
Candependence Day.
Candependence week.
Yeah, because
July 1st, Canada Day. Then we got the 2nd, 3rd, and then it's the 4th of July, baby. So we're gonna light it up and do some extra stuff. Talk about some really good. I'm gonna try to get out and get some video and stuff I can share on Canada Day and stuff, and throw some stuff in between and show you what Canada is like here, and we'll talk about what's going on. What are you going to be doing on Independence Day? Both of you. Question for both of you.
Actually, I'll probably be at home. We'll probably do some grilling out. I have the kids over,
yeah,
the grandkids over.
Yeah.
There's been a few times I've gone to Nashville, but it's literally Nashville has, in the last 5 or 6 years, they've had one of the top 5 fireworks shows, 4th of July in the entire country. So there's like 150,000 people in Nashville, and it's just not something I want to be a part of. It's just too much. So I'll probably,
I hear
watch,
you, man. I skip the one at the beaches in Toronto because the last few years they've estimated over 1 million people showing up.
Wow.
What? More people than the entire city of Winnipeg one year. They can't fit on the beach, by the way, so they don't go. They just try to get there. I think they end up with about 75,000 people on this beach. And the traffic is like, these are all like one lane and parking. There's buses trying to get people to the place, and the buses aren't moving because there's, So I'm like, I won't even walk there anymore. Never mind trying to drive or take a transit. So I sometimes I go out to Canada's Wonderland and I park someplace across the road, walk over, and then I just sit on a hill outside the parking lot and watch fireworks. I did that last year.
Fortunately, my city, Gallatin, they do a fireworks show, and it's literally in the park that I can sit at my driveway's edge and watch the entire show from my driveway. So that's convenient.
That is convenient. I wish I could do that. The only thing I can see from my driveway is whoever's next door setting off a Roman candle or two.
Yeah.
So Blake, are you there for the 4th? Or are you gone at that point?
I'll be in San Antonio.
San Antonio, and what do you got going on? Just hanging out with family, or
I think I'm hosting a pool party. Just
I'm sorry, hosting a pool party? Did you say?
Yeah, just a bunch of friends coming over.
Hang on one second. I don't think I got my invitation yet. Oh, all right. Well, you did say we had to go, so we'll let it go at that. And I'll send. What's that?
Open invite. Anyone wants to come, including you.
I appreciate that. Too bad I can't afford to do it. But believe me, I would love it if I could. But it's been great having you on, man. It's finally get to see your face after all these times of being hit by helicopters. I know it wasn't always your dad. I know you attempted to do it 2 or 3 times in that one game, but it was a lot of fun. Nonetheless, it was great having you on. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it. It was good talking. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll say my goodbye now.
And this is Robert and Blake from the US, and we'll catch you next episode.
Have a good one.